Let's see, communication challenges. It's interesting, I always open the session and I ask people, how many of you have ever had a miscommunication with another person? And of course, everyone's hands go up. And I think some of the big things are, and I'll just list some of the barriers. One is emotions. People get emotional, whether it's you or the person you're trying to communicate with. And once emotion comes in, objectivity flies out the window. So we talked a lot about dealing with emotion. That's a challenge. Technology, double-edged sword. It can be great, it can be fast, but with email, you lose facial expressions, tone of voice, so it can be really challenging. So that can be a barrier or not. Another one, generational differences. Folks that are under 35 are millennials, digital natives. I mean, they grew up texting and IMing, and sometimes when you have boomers or older generations, it's a challenge. That can be a barrier. So tons of challenges. Also, I think as we deal with global audiences or increasingly diverse audiences, we've got cultural and language barriers. So tons and tons of challenges. And the one that I think is in some ways, the most important and perhaps easiest to address are these different styles or the different personalities. The 4 personality types that I deal with, they're very similar to the 4 types in the DISC profile. And the first one would be the thinker-analyzer, and that's where we have a lot of our CPAs. Also a lot of engineers fall into that type. And our thinker-analyzer is very detail-oriented, very fact-based. Then we have our supporter-relators, and our supporter-relators, they're kind of the nurturers of the world. They like it when there's harmony, peace, people are getting along. Nurses, teachers, a lot of them fall into this category. Then we have socializer promoters. They're our cheerleaders of the world. And then we have director controllers who often fall into leadership roles. They're very concerned with getting things done very quickly. So those are kind of our 4 styles there. Best way I think to relate to each one would be, let's start with our thinker-analyzers. With them, they like lots of data. They like to get things in writing. They also don't like to be pushed for a decision. They want time to think about things and analyze it because it's so important to them to be correct, to give you the correct answer. So don't rush them, give them lots of information, and don't drag them in at the 11th hour. They hate that. If you're like, hey, we need this in 10 minutes, what do you think? They don't like that. So that would be those guys. Our socializer promoters, they like lots of energy and excitement. They like when people get together. They like parties. They like brainstorming. So for them, they want to be involved. They also like stories. So it's a much more, you have to kind of amp it up if you're not one of them. The other thing is, when you are that style, it's so easy for you to communicate with people that are your style. It's just kind of a natural flow. For our supporter-relators, those folks, they're also very people-oriented, but they're a much lower energy level. So with them, it's more a quiet connection. It's listening maybe more than talking. They're not going to respond well if you put them on a spot, usually in the meeting, or put them on the spot. Again, they're happiest too when everyone's getting along. They don't like conflict or drama. If there's change in the organization, it's helping them understand how it impacts the people. That's really important to them because they're all about relationships for that group. And then the last one are director controllers. Get right to the point. You don't say good morning. How are you? Did you watch the Olympics? None of that. Just bam, right to the point. And they are very results oriented. I mean, that's kind of their key word. So it's getting stuff done. Also, arguing feelings with them doesn't persuade them. Facts persuade them. So if there was an initiative coming, instead of saying, oh, this will upset Beth so much, you would say, well, we might lose Beth, and her replacement cost would be this much. That will get that director controller type to take notice. So that's kind of in a nutshell. If you'd like to get this communication style quiz, it's available on the Georgia Society for CPAs website at www.gscpa.org and look under communication style quiz. And you can take the quiz, it's very quick. You can learn your communication style. You can also download it and give it to your team. And I think it's a great team building tool. The other thing about it is I have to ask you to promise to only use it for good and not for evil.